Hi everybody and welcome to another Disney news video. Today we'll be talking about the new live-action Cinderella movie coming out. We'll be talking about Star Wars Episode 7, the trailer. We'll be talking about Disneyland in Egypt. And we will also be talking about Pixar and some changes for some upcoming films. First off, the trailer for the new live-action Cinderella, which is coming out next year, has been released. And I got to take a look at it, and there'll be an annotation at the end of the video to it if you want to take a look yourself. It's really interesting. So the movie itself is directed by Kenneth Branagh, who you most likely would know from Thor. Previous to that, he's done a whole bunch of Shakespeare stuff. I saw the trailer, really cool. You have Helena Bonham Carter as the fairy godmother. You've got Lily James as Cinderella, who you might know from Downton Abbey. You've got Cate Blanchett as the evil stepmother. You have Richard Madden, who played King Rob in Game of Thrones as Prince Charming. What really struck me from this trailer that I thought looked really cool, by the way, and I think the movie will look really cool, is that it is essentially, the movie is almost like, the trailer is almost like a short version of the whole movie. Like, it goes through all of it. I think part of that's just because we know the story of Cinderella. It's become such a common story in culture today that I think this isn't the kind of movie where they're going to have secrets or they need to keep the story a secret. And maybe this is, in a way, partially them reacting to some of the blowback from Maleficent and the idea that rather than recreating the story and giving it a modern look, they actually change the story around and sort of change the root of the characters. And I think they're not going to be doing it. Everything you see from that trailer makes it look like it's going to be very, very true to the original story, or at least the original Disney story, but with like this modern and live action look. And I think it looked really cool. I think what I liked most about it was that it didn't try to make this a gritty or realistic Cinderella, despite the fact that it's live action. All of the colors are super saturated. You've got the animated mice who don't seem like real mice. They sort of seem like almost cartoonish. You know, the magic is all there. I think it is a movie that recognizes that it is a fairy tale, and it doesn't try to hide that, or it doesn't try to make it gritty and modern for modern audiences. And I think that's what I'm excited about. What do you guys think? I mean, the idea of taking these classic animated films and sort of turning them into live action, I think, is a big point of debate among Disney fans, right? Some people, I think, are all for it, and some people think it's sort of, you know, disrespectful to a classic. But I want to hear what you guys think. I'm personally in the camp, I think it's fine. You know, I'm not going to, you know, hate the original Cinderella just because this movie might end up being bad. If it ends up being bad, then I never see it again and life goes on. You know, it doesn't hurt. So I'm all for trying it out. And if this can get some young kids who see this movie to go and watch the older classic out of curiosity, then I'm all for it as well. Next up, we have the Star Wars Episode 7 trailer. That hasn't been released yet. Boy, do I wish it has. But apparently some people have they've gotten to see it, and they said that the trailer will feature the new antagonist, whoever the new bad guy is. And the description everyone has been throwing out there is that it's a mix between the Royal Guards from Return of the Jedi and Darth Revan from Knights of the Old Republic. And it's some sort of combination. I think that's cool. I think the big question right now is, when are we going to get to see this trailer? Soon, hopefully. So the two rumored films that I've heard it might be showing before is, one, The Hunger Games, and two, The Hobbit. Now, both of those would make sense. I think it would sort of capture the demographic. I think The Hunger Games less so. I think that's a film that has more of a female demographic, and not to say that females don't like Star Wars, but I think with something as large as Star Wars, you want to get a more generalized demographic, and I think The Hobbit is sort of a great target, right? It's in December, so it'll be about a year out from Episode 7 coming out. It sort of has that fantasy audience, which often seems to be linked most commonly with the sci-fi audience. And I think The Hobbit, is one of those films where young, old, male, female, it doesn't matter. That's one of those, I think, film franchises that a lot of people love. So I think it'll be that. and I'm excited. I've never been so excited. Like when the idea first came out that it was going to be like the Hunger Games, I was ready to go see the Hunger Games in theater just on the off chance that you'd see the trailer. And I remember being younger when the prequels were coming out. People did that because the internet, it wasn't as, film trailers weren't widespread over the internet the way it is now. You go on YouTube and stuff. So at that point, people would literally buy a ticket to a movie, go see the Star Wars trailer, and then leave because that's all they came to see. And that excitement, it's just like I've talked about it in the past. Everything about episode 7 so far is reminding me so much of the excitement that came with the prequels, and the build up to the prequels. And hopefully the one main difference is I'll actually enjoy episode 7 and it won't end up like the prequels. Next up, we have, I guess it's a news piece, but it's sort of shooting down another news piece, and the topic is Disneyland in Egypt. So a couple of days ago, Ashraf Salman, who is the investment minister of Egypt, had made comments saying that they were in talks with Disney to open up a Disneyland in Egypt. And so a lot of articles popped up about this being a Disneyland in the Middle East, it'd be the first in the region, what this means for tourism, what it means for the region. But I was very skeptical from the beginning just because it was very one-sided. It was only coming from, this minister in Egypt. Nothing was coming out of Disney. It didn't seem like a good business decision because Egypt itself, because of all the political unrest since 2011, has seen nearly a 25% drop in tourism. So from a business standpoint, it just didn't seem to make a lot of sense that Disney would put a park there, especially because there are a lot of safety concerns with going over to Egypt. And sure enough, Disney just recently came out and they confirmed that they are not planning on building a Disney in Egypt. They said, at Walt Disney Parks and Resorts, we continually look for ways to grow our business, and as a part of that process, we have conversations with many different entities. While Egypt is an attractive market, we have no plans for the region at this time. Which makes a lot of sense. And as someone else pointed out, Disneyland Paris recently announced a $150 million loss last year. So the idea of another Disney in, it's not necessarily the same region, but that same sort of, quarter of the globe wouldn't make a whole lot of sense, right? If people aren't traveling to Paris for Disney, what makes you think they'd travel to the Middle East or vice versa? So it looks like we're going to just have the parks that we've got now. Lastly today, it looks like Pixar has replaced Bob Peterson, who is directing The Good Dinosaur, with a new director, Peter Sohn, who was an artist at the studio since to the year 2000 as the director. It sounds like the replacement was amid creative concerns in the summer of 2013. Now, the film is slated for a November 2015 release, but that was actually pushed back. It was supposed to be coming out May of 2014, this year. Obviously, that never happened. It looks like this is a film that sort of had some issues, right? And it got pushed back. It was mainly for creative reasons, and it seems like Bob Peterson has been sort of not dragging his feet, but they haven't been able to iron out those creative concerns that Pixar originally had, which is why there's a switch in director. And whenever there's a change like this, especially midway through production of a film, there's always the worry that, this is going to speak poorly for the film at the end of the day. However, I think there are also many cases that you can look at where the sort of stresses and the problems that hit a film make it better. We were just talking about Star Wars Episode 7. Star Wars Episode 4 was a film that, didn't have to replace a director by any stretch, but definitely had a lot of production issues, and it's the sort of stuff that makes you think this is a disaster. But usually when you face these restrictions, what you end up with is people being forced to think creatively. And so in this case, we might have this new director, using this time to try and creatively fix whatever might be an issue with the film before it gets put out there, and it could end up being a better film for it. So there you have it. We have the Cinderella trailer. We don't have the Star Wars trailer. There won't be a Disneyland in Egypt, and it looks like we have a new director for The Good Dinosaur. Anyway, my outro got a little bit corrupted. I want to thank you all for watching. Whatever you do this week, make the most of it because it makes it that much better. Let me know what you think about these news pieces, and if you have another news piece that you want to add to the conversation, feel free to do it in the comments below. Bye, everybody.